Hello to all of my fellow brand newbie laser engravers. Um, I am making this video to help those people that I am seeing in the Facebook group that are so frustrated with the software that they are ready to or actually returning their machines. I'm kind of surprised there's not more videos out about how to run this software. What I am using is the free software that the Creality Falcon Design Space through CraftSeek, the software that is suggested that you download when you get your machine set up and running. I have not tried Lightborn or any of the other software out there. I just wanted to be able to use my machine and learn how to use my laser engraver without paying for anything extra right now at this point. I just want to learn how to use it, right? I'm seeing so many people that are frustrated, so I'm gonna try to make this much quicker than my half-hour video that it drug on to be, and just show you a little bit of how I personally got started. We can learn this stuff together. I have been working with a Cricut vinyl cutter for about 7 years, and I'm familiar with their design space, so there are a lot of similarities, there are a lot of differences, and let's get to it. This is basically the screen that you will come up on once you get your software downloaded. I have found that there's plenty of information on getting your machine set up, so that part is not hard to do. Once you get your software installed and running, you will find yourself on this inspiration page where there's all kinds of free projects that you can make. I chose something fairly simple to get started. So I just want to show you, if you've been playing around at all with the software and you're stuck on the canvas and you have all kinds of layers right here and everything, let's go ahead and start from square one with that. We're just going to go home and we're going to hit new project. If you have something on your screen, a little box is going to show up that asks if you want to save the project. You can choose to save it or not. I normally, well, whatever. Hit yes or no based on what you want to do. Anyways, so we hit new project. We are at a very brand new project. 3mm bass plywood is the default that is set in here. I'm not sure if it defaults to that or if that's just because that's what I've been using. Anyways, so it's always going to start you obviously with at least one layer, a line engraving, with the settings inputted right here, your speed right here, and your power right here, automatically entered in based on this material right here. As you can see, there's nothing on our canvas yet, so let's make a project. This is exactly where I started. Once again, this is my very first laser engraver, and I might fumble through some of these steps, but my main mission in making this video is to help people that are getting very frustrated just learn how to get started and feel confident just playing with their machine, knowing that you're not going to break something and there's going to be a lot of trial and error and experiments and so on. So let's choose a project. So just scroll through some of these free projects. This is literally what I did when I started. I had already set up the camera calibration. So every single thing I've done and played with on this machine, I have learned something new. Every video I've watched, even if I've watched a 30 to 45-minute video, even if I only learned one thing, it was worth it. But I'm making this for those that are just kind of stuck and don't know where to start. So I have scrolled down here on the inspiration page of free projects, and I decided that I thought that this ornament was pretty cute. So we'll click on that. Okay, it gives you a breakdown of the project. You can scroll here and you can see this is the machine that I have, the A1 10-watt Creality Falcon. It's telling us the material used is the 3mm basswood plywood. So that's what the settings in this file are going to be set up as. We don't really need to do anything except decide this is cute, I want to make it. So click make it. All right. this is a good place to start because I can show you a few things on this image that we're going to have to mess with. Like one, getting rid of this text. Whatever's on this canvas right here that has settings over here is going to engrave or cut on your basswood. So obviously by the time we make this ornament, we do not want this text here because that's just going to waste some materials. So I will show you how to remove that. But what we're trying to focus on right now, because where I'm finding most people are getting frustrated are with the settings over here. Some people don't even know where to find them yet. They're just kind of plugging in projects and entering the material and letting this ride with whatever the defaults are. I have actually found that most of these settings have been too high for the projects that I've been making. And again, it's not like I just learned all this overnight. I have been experimenting for over 2 weeks. I am completely brand new at using a laser engraver, but I'm usually pretty good at figuring things out, and I have suffered through many videos where a lot of the content creators are struggling through the software. So you are definitely not alone. There's not a lot of good information out there on how to use this software, and the whole reason I'm making this video is to try to help. Some people are far, 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 far beyond where I am even at, but this hopefully will help some people just get started and not feel like they need to just return their machine after being so excited to get it. So here's what we're going to do. We've created a new canvas. We chose, a sample file to make a free ornament. And this is where people start getting lost. So hopefully you have been able to figure out how to calibrate your camera. If you have not, so right now my machine is not on. And I always push the emergency stop button when I'm done working for the night. So let's just turn that and disengage the emergency stop. And that will cause my camera to connect. And right now I am not displaying a photo, so that's why you don't see anything in the background. Let's hit display photo. There we go. That is a photo of the actual basswood that's in my machine right now. What we want to do here, now this will be more detailed in other videos, but what I will say really quick, if I zoom in, you can see that I have my honeycomb base in there. Mostly only need that when you're cutting. You can do any kind of engraving and any kind of practice. You can see on my wood here, I did all sorts of my nickname in engraving samples, and I actually engraved the settings next to them, so I can always refer back to this to see what settings that I used for each sample. Sorry, I really need to learn how to say less, because I know when I listen to this later, it's going to drive me nuts. But I missed this in my first recording. This is take 2 for y'all. So, first of all, with the honeycomb in place, I know that my honeycomb is 15 millimeters thick. So when I'm going to take a picture for the most accurate placement of my image, when I go to place that, when I go to take a picture, my basswood is 3 millimeters thick. You already know that. But you have to account for your honeycomb as well. So my honeycomb is 15 millimeters thick plus 3 millimeters thick. That is 18 millimeters. When I go to take a picture, right here on the engraving plane height, I want to make that 18 millimeters. My honeycomb plus my basswood, okay? And then I want to take a photo. So that's going to help the camera adjust for the difference and be more accurate. Now right now you can see these notifications coming up when I mess with the camera and it's telling me I need to recalibrate. That's fine. I've recalibrated a couple of times and it seems like it's never going to be exact. So I'm not going to even worry about that right now. I'm going to focus more on framing when it comes to time to start my project. So I've got this set. My honeycomb plus my basswood is 18 millimeters. So when I take the picture, it's going to be about as accurate as I can. Now, as you can see here already, I forgot to push my laser head out of the way, so it's currently blocking the only open section of this basswood that I have left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the front of my machine. I'm going to push my laser to the far left back corner, and I'm going to close the machine and re-click on photo. You'll see that now my laser head is no longer blocking the area that I need. Why is it not selecting? There we go. It's no longer blocking the area that I am going to put this ornament, which is going to be right about here somewhere. All right, whoops. Control Z to undo anything that you've done. Shrink it, get the placement there. All right, now I'm going to zoom in. And you guys that only have laptops and you don't use a mouse, I don't know how you do it. I have to have a mouse when I'm designing things. It makes life so much easier. That's all I can say about that. All right, so that showed you real quick how to enter your plane height, get your photo, get an actual photo. Now, when you're designing, if the wood in the photo is distracting you, you come right here and you hit display photo and you turn that off. Now you have your design, okay? So let's click here onto layers because the camera we just closed out anyway. We're not really looking at anything, but we're all good to go there. When we want to bring that back into the picture, we're ready to go. Layers. This right here, it's showing layer 00, 01, and 02. Obviously, they're color coded. Same thing reflected here in the image. Now, if I right click on my mouse on any of these, it's going to flash on the screen which layer that is referring to. Okay, this is your cut line, and the green one is going to be your filled engraving. Now notice how all these say line engraving right now, and all the settings are the same. These are default settings based on this material right here. Okay, which is the material we're using, and that's fine. Now, what I found is most of these settings are too high, and that also is personal preference a lot, but you have all kinds of play with these settings. For example, when I do leather or faux leather, like planner covers that have like a fake leather covering, my power on this is only 15. And my speed is about 7,000 for that. Right now, this speed, 7,000, that means the laser is going to run very fast, and 80 is going to be, you know, a higher power. We'll cover that a little bit more in a second. So let me show you where to go from here. We know we want to make this ornament. We know that we want the paws to be all filled in. I personally found out that I don't much care for this little center circle hole that's cut out. So I'll show you how to remove that if you wish. The blue line, as it's shown right here, that is going to be a cut line. The black line, I am personally going to eliminate. So once again, if I come up here on the black layer, layer 00 right here, if I right click, it's going to flash that. Now you can see, you can do that as many times as you want, and you can see that when it's flashing, that's showing me that what it's going to do is it's going to make an outline around these paw prints. That's a whole nother layer that I don't feel that I need. So I'm going to go right here to the output, and I'm going to turn that layer off. So now you see that layer's gone. So this here is irrelevant right now. It's not going to do anything on this. You can also delete it, but you know, I want it to still be there. I just don't want the machine to use it. I don't want it to do anything. So I just turned it off. So now if I right click on the blue layer, there's my cut layers. All right. Right click on the green layer, there's my fill layers. But as you see here, it says line engraving. Right now they're all going to line engrave and they're all going to be the same, and it's not going to cut anything out for you. So what you need to do, your blue layer is a line cut. So let's go here. We're going to left click, normal click on the mouse, and we're going to change it from the line engraving that it's set on. We're going to change it to a line cutting because we want the blue line to be cut out of the basswood. So now you can see it changed the settings. It changed it to a cutting setting, which is a slower speed and a higher power. Now, what I'll tell you right now is my favorite, I can't say it's the best because it's going to vary depending on your wood, depending on your preference, depending on all kinds of things. What I have preferred using is changing my 3mm basswood cuts to a little bit faster speed at 350 and a little bit lower power at just 90. Because I noticed that 100 was definitely cutting through just like butter, and I was like, that was unnecessarily high. So I just lowered it to 90, and it gives me the same results. It's using less power. It's burning the bottom of my tray a lot less, and I am using a honeycomb. But, you know, it just seemed like if I can get away with 90, cutting a little bit faster, why not? And that worked just fine for me. Now, the green, right click and show you that. I'm going to left click and I want this to be filled in. So I'm going to have this be a fill engraving. Now you can see in the image it reflects that change. It also changed your settings. No, it didn't actually. It stayed the same, but I'm going to change them because the first time I ran it, I did use these settings because you got to start somewhere, right? I use these settings because these are the default settings for a fill engraving based on a 3mm basswood plywood, which is what's included with your machine when you get it. I actually found that 8,000 speed at 80 power was too almost burnt. It gave me a lot of smoky haze around every part of the image, and which, by the way, can easily be sanded off, which is fine. But it almost seemed unnecessarily high. So I actually changed that. And what I found that I preferred the most, I'm digging through my samples over here, because I did cut multiple of these and make samples. I'm finding that what I liked the most was a 3,000 speed at a 40 power for the fill-in. Now, you notice I dropped the power by half. So once again, basically the point is do a lot of these. Change the power, change the speed, see the results, and write it on the back of the piece. And keep those. Once again, you got to start somewhere, right? So I'm just trying to help people not be intimidated, figure out how to change some of these settings. I will show you right now how to get rid of this text as well. And then I've got to cut this into multiple videos so that they're not half-hour each. And I'm already pushing 18 minutes. So, real quick, let's get rid of the text. So let's go ahead and select everything. You're going to right-click on your mouse. You're going to ungroup this. And then you're going to select, whoops, try not to get too close to that or it will grab it. You're going to select just the text, and I'm literally on my keyboard going to hit delete. Okay. Now this is super important. Oh, I also don't want the hole in the center. You can see when I find it there, right there, it highlights. I'm going to click that one. I'm also going to hit delete because I don't want that hole. This hole up here is so you can hang the ornament. So we do want that. Now this part is pretty important because if I move this image at all, everything's going to be out of whack because remember I went in and I ungrouped it so that I could delete the text. So now what I'm going to do is reselect everything. I'm going to right click and I'm going to hit group. So now I've regrouped it and I can move it around wherever I need to on my canvas. So at this point you can go to your camera You can display the image that we already took of our actual material in our machine. We've already set up we've already focused it and got everything squared away there. We're going to place it in the one remaining open area of my bass board while I wait for my other to arrive. My Amazon shipment is like a week late. I already ordered another batch. The one is MIA with the Christmas shopping weekend. Anyway, let's place it there, and then always, always, always focus or frame. So real quick, I'll buzz through this. Frame settings are in the little drop down arrow. You can hit frame here, but let's check our settings real quick, and I'll tell you what I like to use is the circular border. And the reason is that will show me more of the circular shape of the ornament instead of just doing the 4 box square corners, because as you can see, I like to make the most out of my basswood, and it's easier for me to tell exactly where the piece is going to go if I use the circular border. I like to do cycle pass. That way it continues circling it multiple times and I can watch nicely. When you get your machine, it's going to be at a super high speed. I turned it down right here so that when I'm framing, I actually have time and I can watch it move slower instead of it going so quick. Because when you're trying to get things in really tight, it's nicer if it goes a little bit slower. Now, you do have to be careful with this setting because if you turn the power on your laser up too high, depending on the material, like on soft leather, I realized that having it on a 3 power, even just for the framing, it actually left a mark. So there are some materials where I did have to turn the power up to be able to see the laser, but be aware that it will mark your material. Mostly because I'm doing cyclic pass. So, you know, maybe do single pass or maybe just keep the power down to 1. And I can hit go because that's the settings I want. So we'll X that out and then I can hit frame. Now you can hear my machine is over here framing this image onto this photo of my material. And it is off just a little bit, so I can do this. Now some people don't realize, let me hit stop framing, that's that cyclic pass. All right, some people don't realize if I click on this and I just need fine tuning, hold down your control button on your keyboard and use your arrow keys. And you can fine tune like that with your arrow keys. You can move it a lot more minimally than I can achieve with my mouse. With my mouse, if I do this, it wants to kind of click all over the place. But if I need some fine tuning, hold down that control key, hit those arrow keys, and you can fine tune all you want that way. Okay, so if my framing's off a little bit, say that it was going off the edge over here, well, let me move it so it's over here. All right, you got that. And then once you're happy with the placement on your material and you've framed it and it's not going off the edge or anything like that, then of course you go ahead and hit start. And the result will be what you have set up here in these settings. Now, one thing I didn't touch on are times. That means how many passes your machine's going to make. So far, I've only had to make 1 pass on most materials. There will be times where you might feel the need to make another pass. My biggest suggestion there is not to move your engraved project. Don't touch it. Don't move it. Try to get the best view possible that you can. You know, once it's all done and the laser's rested back in the corner, open it up, try to look at it and see if you are happy with the results. If it's too light and you went too light on your power here or something, you can do another pass. Just leave this at 1. If you're doing another pass, just leave it at 1 and just hit start again. Change your settings a little bit and just hit start again. Obviously you can always add more, you can't undo. So that's an option. But like I said, don't move your project because it's highly unlikely that you will ever get it realigned exactly the same way if you move it and then you turn around and decide, oh, I should have done another pass. I have found that the camera is not super accurate. It does shift and move and change things a little bit every time. I always have to make adjustments. Right here in my mind, you would think, okay, I took a picture, okay, I put my artwork down. Now, when I framed this, it was actually showing up to be off the edge a little bit. That's even with this setting right here, which has, I don't know if it's like weird stuff with the software or because I literally didn't do anything since I took this picture the first time, and it's set back to 3mm instead of 18. Remember, 18 is the thickness of my honeycomb and my material. So if I took a picture again right now with that set on 3, I'll show you it will change the placement of where that basswood is. Yep, see that? Look how much it zoomed in just by changing that. So anyway, yes, you're definitely, there's some trial and error. Yes, we're learning this together. Yes, I'm still brand new. I have created a few of my own designs. I will plan on making more videos showing how, I'll show you, it goes from 18. I changed it back to 18 now and watch the image. You see how much difference and play there was in that? So that does make a difference, definitely. So anyway, basically the bottom line is every time you run a project, before you hit this start button, check this setting for your photo and your placement. Check every setting on your on each one of your processes that you're gonna do. You know, I'm not doing this black layer, so I have the output off on that. You might need to adjust your cutting. You might need to adjust the speeds. You might find that your engraving is way too deep and dark and you have way too much smoky outline that you have to sand off. Lower that power. It doesn't need to be that high. We don't need to engrave halfway through the, you know, through the wood. We can, but, you know, is it always necessary? I think that's where a lot of people, they rely too much on these presets and they don't play around with these settings or they don't know how. So that's sort of just the point of me making this video right now. I will definitely make more videos as I go. I have done leather. I will definitely be doing glass. I'm a glass artist by trade. I will be incorporating metal, although I found that the A1 10 watt is not the best machine for that, unfortunately, because metal, brass, copper, all those things they're actually a huge part of my work already, and that's part of the reason why I decided to incorporate a laser engraver into my studio and invest in one. But that's okay because I'm now finding out that this is a great starter unit just to learn how to use a laser engraver. So I hope that this helps somebody, and follow, like, subscribe, all the things, and I will continue making videos as I learn and we can all learn together, because as you have found, I'm sure as much as I have found, there is not a lot of information on running the free Design Space software for Creality Falcon machines. Yeah. Anyway, good luck on your journey. We're in it together.